We are honored to have our mayor, Sue Vaterlaus, here, and also the assistant city manager, Yulia here for a State of the City address. And I'm going to hand the mic over to Sue. Sue, you can absolutely give a little mini bio, but anybody who doesn't know you has been under a rock for the last how many years? Probably 20. But I will give the mic to Yulia now. Just a little mini bio about you and your position within the city.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited, and thanks to Kevin, who couldn't make it here, so giving me this opportunity. So he is a happy dad this weekend because his son is graduating from college, so he couldn't make it today. But I am Yulia Carter, Assistant City Manager. I'm going on my 4th year with the city, serving this beautiful community, and it's been really rewarding experience. Prior to Pacifica, I served quite a few cities in Bay Area and in San Mateo County as well, including Sausalito, Half Moon Bay, San Carlos, and Los Altos Hills. So that's Santa Clara County, but worked in 3 counties, 3 Bay Area counties. I do have over 20 years in local government. Actually, my entire career was in local government, so I'm really happy with what I do. So, because serving community is my passion, and I'm really thrilled to be here. Pacifica is an amazing city and really beautiful community, beautiful people, and really rewarding experience. Again, we have a wonderful team in the city, and I'm really pleased to be part of it.
Thank you. Okay, I'm Sue Vaterlaus, and I have been doing stuff with the city for 20 years or maybe more. But you know how old I am, so whatever. So we are going to do the strategic plan, and I'm sure, or talk about the strategic plan update, which isn't the most interesting thing that you guys want to hear, but there will be definitely time for questions. And I told people earlier, ask whatever you want. See, I could have been funny there, but I wasn't. So I'm going to start with this. See, yes, we're on camera. Thank you for indicating that, because it makes a big difference. Okay. It's been sitting here for so long that it didn't want to change. Okay. City, we're going to do, this is the agenda: City Council Strategic Plan, the Pacifica discussion, budget status, and status of major projects, which is the most interesting. Adopted by City Council in 2023, Year 2 update adopted by the City Council on May 13th, 2024, followed by the Strategic Plan Update Workshop on March 9th, 2024. We did a new mission, well, last year. We did a mission, which is what we do and why. The vision, what do we want to change? Values, how do we do our work? Goals, what to achieve in the next 10 years. Government works slowly. Strategies, how do we achieve our goals, and implementation of the action plan, and that's staff work plans. The mission is the City of Pacifica provides exceptional services, maintains a small town feel and safety of its unique community, and stewards its environment, coastal beauty, and recreational opportunities. The vision: Pacifica strives to be an inclusive and substantial community, environmentally, economically, socially, and holistically. And our values: collaborative teamwork, healthy workspace, heartfelt service, resource stewardship, transparency, and responsive, visionary, and transparent and responsive visionary planning. Our goals and strategies for 2023 to 2030 are enhance organization and fiscal stability, improve staff retention, recruitment, mental health, wellness resources, and increased staffing for rising workloads. Consider possible tax and bond measures for 2024. Prioritize implementation of the Economic Opportunities Study. Number 2, improve and steward city infrastructure, streets, and facilities. Complete selected stormwater and flooding improvements citywide. Advance the Beach Boulevard Resiliency and Esplanade Protection projects, which we worked on Monday, including the pier as feasible. Broaden community awareness of the library project. Thank you, Carolyn. Develop a facilities and equipment plan for public safety and the community center. 3, prioritize protection and development of affordable housing. Complete the housing element update. Update the short-term rental ordinance. Prioritize housing element program implementation. 4, pursue climate change adaptation and mitigation. Update the climate action and adaptation plan that was talked about earlier, including performance targets. Continue the urban forestry management plan, tree canopy goals, inventory, and projects. Update Pacifica's local coastal plan, a never-ending item, and improve communications and collaborations with the California Coastal Commission. 5, broaden public communications and collaboration. Creatively and appropriately, I can't even read today. Creatively and appropriately leverage community expertise and volunteers to advance city priorities. Increase communications, education, and connections for community mental health resources. And these are you probably can't read this because I can't read it. There are certain goals. There are 170 tasks for the staff to work on. And it's obviously a lot of things. Some of them are very well on track, which is the green. Some of them are not yet started. And some of them are totally off track, which doesn't mean we're not working on them. It just means we're not doing anything about it at this time. Next is the Pacifica discussion. Recent surveys with more than 700 residents responding identified numerous priorities. Repairing storm drains to prevent flooding. Chris, are you in this picture? Sorry. No, he doesn't work for the city. He doesn't work for the city, but he dresses like that sometimes. Maintaining 911 fire and emergency medical response times. Repairing potholes, addressing the condition of city streets, keeping beaches free from pollution, protecting coastal areas and local beaches, and reducing the risk of flooding and mudslides. Despite best efforts, Pacifica still has some of the worst rated roads in the Bay Area. Millions in additional funding is needed for our streets and storm drains. Many school intersections need safety upgrades such as new sidewalks, bike lanes, better crosswalks, and lighting. And now we're on the budget, so I'm going to hand it over to Yulia.
Thank you, Mayor. So we don't have extensive charts and graphs for you today on the budget, but I do want to highlight that the City Council gave staff direction on upcoming fiscal year 24-25 budget at the last meeting. So if you're interested in specific details, I encourage you to go into this agenda and look at the staff report and the presentation for that. But I want to highlight today kind of main theme for the budget, for the upcoming year's budget. We are grateful to the community for passing Measure Y funds last year, so that really helped to bridge the gap that we were displaying. Well, a year ago, we were reporting that we were projecting 2.7 million deficit, so we were able to fill this hole with the Measure Y funds. But unfortunately, well, as you see on the slide highlighted in bold, it doesn't really give us much margin to really make a breakthrough on the ongoing investments in infrastructure and continue services or enhancing city services. And as part of this year's budget, well, it's been an ongoing struggle for a while now, but as part of this year's budget, we did updated the staffing study and presented it to council at the last meeting. In the past, again, just a little bit of kind of history lesson, we've been reporting several times that we were 23% below staffed the average cities of our size and level of services. So for this, but the council did a lot of work in this area. So I'll go into this on the next slide. So we wanted to see like where we stand today. And fortunately, it's not 23% anymore, but unfortunately it's still 17% lower citywide average staffing compared to other cities. And this study was done by a consultant. Yes, so, okay. So the comparable cities was selected by consultant based on the level of services, approximate population, and median income, and a few other criteria. So the cities here from right, well, Pacifica is the last one, right? So Burlingame, Campbell, Foster City, Martinez, Menlo Park, Morgan Hill, Bronner Park, San Bruno, and Pacifica. So those cities were selected for this comparison, and you can see the peer average per capita is 6.0. So that's your line here, and you see that Pacifica is, well, one of the lowest. Not the lowest, but one of the lowest in the comparison at 5.0 per capita. So what it actually means, that's how we translate it into 17% below. But if you look at what the 17% represents, it's actually about 40 positions that we should have and we don't have across the board, from police to maintenance to wastewater, well, citywide. And this 40 position, well, again, it's between 30 and 40, right? So if you're looking at 40 additional positions at about 125,000 salaries plus benefits, fully burdened costs, so we're talking about $5 million, which the city does not have to fund. And again, this is kind of the biggest budget challenge that we are having right now, because if you go back to this slide and look like why those cities that fall kind of below this average, they have the lowest general fund, size of general fund. And unfortunately, Pacifica is one of the lowest. I think, if I remember it right, it was like second lowest general fund size across the board. But I do want to, I don't want to whine here all the time, but I want to highlight all the efforts that were done by the council up to date. And again, organization-wide, like from the staff perspective, I know we're really, really grateful for those for hearing us and recognizing this, because we've gone a long way from this 23% to 17%. That's huge. That's a huge effort, and the council specifically added 7 positions last year between the adopted budget and the revised budget across the board, again, in finance, police, parks, beaches, recreations, and public works department. So our total FTE count, full-time equivalent count, is now 193.25, which is an increase from 186. Again, every position counts, right? So that's the police officer on the street, that's the maintenance worker, that's the public works staff who manages storm issues and things like that. So additionally, 4 limited term positions were converted to permanent positions in admin services, police, and planning departments. And that's huge. It doesn't have immediate fiscal impact, right? Because it's already included in the budget. But from recruitment and retention perspective, it's a huge, huge step in the right direction. And somebody who manages HR in the city, I can tell you that we are running between 10 and 15% vacancy rate at any given time. So imagine this. So we're talking about 17% below staff and turnover on top of it. So which is extremely difficult. And again, unfortunately, our HR department mastered replacements and going into recruitments, and it's just really being very, very efficient in this. But if you think about it from an organizational perspective, when you bring new people, there is a learning curve, there is a training, there is a up to speed period of time, right? And at all this time, all the city council's priorities still need to go on, and we need to carry on, and we need to have deadlines to meet and things like that. So that was a huge step. Converting those positions to permanent really, really helps us to recruit higher quality, more experienced staff, because people will be looking for permanent position rather than limited term. And again, on this note, the city managers focus this year to really hone on this council's priority and goal of increasing organizational capacity. So once again, I encourage you to go and look at the budget report that was published with the last agenda, to look at all the recommendations that we are proposing for the upcoming year. But again, it's mostly adding additional positions and making some positions permanent throughout the organization, from engineering to police officers. And again, I don't want to go into details like how critical it is citywide, because we, from the staffing perspective, like from law enforcement to public works, but that's where we stand with the budget. And on the status of major projects, I don't know, Sue, if you want to do it, or do you want me?
Okay, major projects. I want to do this part because the city center renovation. The city center is going to be open on the 27th, and apparently we've invited the whole town to come. So it's going to be interesting, but we're all excited to be able to go and open finally. It was supposed to be done last year, but of course things get stalled and the elevator didn't arrive and things like that. You know, stuff always happens. But you have to have an elevator because it has to be ADA compliant, which we're going to be, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. Our local land use plan update. The 26th is our next meeting. I believe we start at 6 that night, but look it up, and I'll tell you something about that in a minute. The housing element, we have submitted our housing element. It's not approved yet. We still are waiting for HCD, and Housing and Community Development. I hate acronyms. I went to a meeting on Thursday night, and they said there are about 8 cities in the county that don't have their housing element updated yet. So everyone has submitted, but it's being held up at HCD. We work definitely on our wastewater infrastructure since I've been here. When I was the mayor last, we did the equalization basin in the community center. So I actually have my name on a plaque for that sewage overflow. It's the most, you know. Yeah. The Beach Boulevard Infrastructure Resiliency Project, we do call that BBURP. So that is obviously the seawalls and the whole infrastructure along Beach Boulevard, which is why I ran for council to start with. So, and I don't hesitate to tell people that I ran because I wanted to see the seawall built and done. It'll be after I'm gone, but it's okay. The pier repair. And I do want to say that Anna Eshu put in 2 requests for us. One is for the pier, and the other one is for Beach Boulevard resiliency. And we won't know for some time if those are awarded, but it was so kind of her to again put in for funds for us for those projects, because those are to me, some of our most important projects. Short-term rental ordinance. We are going to have a short-term rental ordinance study session on the 24th at 5 p.m. So a lot of people are interested in that. There was a meeting that Sue Beckmeyer got to attend, but I was at a different meeting, so I didn't. But it's one of the city's most oft talked about. Climate action and adaptation plan we talked about, and an additional 5-year street plan, which we've been working in 5-year segments on the streets. We've gotten a lot done. If anybody lives in the north, I had to ask this question because Manor Drive looked perfect to me, and yet they closed down the whole street to repave it. And what happened was the people who lived there complained that something was incorrect. It was rippling. And so the company that did it went back and their guarantee and refixed it. So it was done for free because it was bothering me because why are we fixing a perfectly good road? But it wasn't perfectly good. It looked good. So the next thing says questions, but I'm going to say a few things first. I think the thing that I hear from the public that bothers me the most is I never heard of that. Why didn't I ever hear that that was going to happen? Well, there's lots of ways to hear what's happening. There's Connect with Pacifica, which comes out every Friday. Sign up for it. Go to the city website. Go on and get the agendas. You don't have to read the 700 pages of the agenda. Just read the first page and see what's happening, because then you'll know what's happening. These are all important things. There's little segments, Plan Pacifica, there's the Beach Boulevard Resiliency Project. There's buttons that you can push once you get to the city's website to stay informed. Read Pacifica Locals that Vicki does, because she has a lot of information in there for us. There are a lot of things going on here, and if people, so I'll tell you something I learned when I first got on council. This number of people here care about what you're doing. These people don't care, and these people hate what you're doing. So it's a big curve, but those people in the middle of the curve, when it affects them directly, boy, do they care what you're doing. So pay attention. One of my other things is safety. And I harp on this all the time, and I'm going to harp on it some more. SMC alerts. It's an opt-in. I've been on their committee for a long time, and every time I go, can't it be an opt-out so that everyone gets SMC alerts? The county thinks it's great that 23% of people get SMC alerts. It's pitiful, pitiful. If you're going to Half Moon Bay and the road is closed, don't you want to know that ahead? If you got an SMC alert, you would know. You would know when the road closed. You would know when the road opened. Also, Zone Haven, which was bought by a company called Genesis, but you can still go to Zone Haven. Find out what your zone is. There was a fire in Rockaway, and people were trying to come down Fassler. Well, it wasn't happening because the fire hoses were across Fassler. And if you drive over a fire hose, it stops the water. Like, kind of duh. But, people were so upset that they couldn't drive down Fassler. And if you had Zone Haven gives you directions. So it tells you, oh, I'm on Terra Nova. I should drive down Terra Nova and out Lindemar. I can't drive up Terra Nova and down Fassler because the fire hoses are crossing the road. And if you know what zone you're in, you can look at it and it tells you. It even goes to Waze and certain directional GPS to tell you which way to go. And in case of a disaster, that's just so important. And sign up for the agendas and sign up for Connect with Pacifica. It's just, I wish there was more people here, but I know, it's not a thrilling topic for people. So, but, I just will keep talking about those things over and over and over till I'm gone. Okay, See, look at, I put that off long enough. Questions? Judy.
Everybody these days is having problems with traffic. There's no way up and down the space down the building. And there's this chronic underfunding of government and our services. So the question for you is, compared to other cities in California and in the Bay Area, how is Pacifica in terms of your ability to perform the functions that you need to, the funding, the support that you're getting?
Well, thank you so much for the question. So this has really been an ongoing pain for the city. So we talked a little bit about the fact that we don't have capacity to fill positions because we don't have positions that we need, right? So we're still 17% below. But I mentioned the vacancy rate, which is extremely high. It is this county-wide and even Bay Area-wide problem. I agree. And this is mostly related to the cost of living in the Bay Area. So we essentially cannot bring anyone out of the area because people cannot afford living here. So every time when we screen applications, and from time to time we see out of state strong applicants applying for positions with really high credentials, but then when we go through the recruitment process and when they become finalists, then they start doing the homework and saying, oh, what do you mean? The average rent is this much. So I can't make it. And that's, unfortunately, we see it over and over. And I think this is a universal problem for all the cities. What is different in Pacifica that our total salaries and benefits package is not competitive compared to other cities, because we are comparing ourselves to cities with robust economic base that we don't have here. And that's the problem. So when you compare salaries and benefits against Mountain View, Palo Alto, or San Carlos, we are not competitive. And that's really hurting us. So we are trying to do everything we can that does not involve money. That's good culture, organization, strong team work, but you can go only that far, right? Because when you look, and most of our staff is from 10 to 20% below market. That's the reality we are facing, unfortunately. Between 10 and 20%. So that's kind of a struggle we're dealing. I mean, we've done some comparison about a year ago for labor negotiations, and the council approved some equity adjustment stages, multi-year kind of plan to address this issue, but we don't have capacity or financial means to bring everyone to market in 1 or 2 years. So that's the challenge.
I recently. Okay. I recently went to the awards for city employees, and you would be amazed. We have extremely loyal employees. We had one that was here for 40 years and one that was here for 35, and the list of 20s is huge. There were probably 50 people on the list of 5 years or more. So we have a lot of long-term people, but it also means that we have people who've been here so long that it was cheaper, and they're going to retire. So then we have to hire new people. I was even small. I was talking to the PB&R interim commissioner or manager, and he said it's all over the country, but they can't get a lifeguard to come. So they can't open the pools because they don't have lifeguards, because he said they used to hire people starting 15 to 18, He goes, they can't get anybody to work in the 15 to 18 age range. So there will be times when we won't even be able to open the pool. And I know that sounds minuscule, but for a lot of people, it's really important. So there's a lot going on there too. So
It's just one of our many quality of life issues.
right, we don't have businesses here to support us. South San Francisco, you know, we have too much biotech, you know. And I feel so sorry for them, and I actually stood up and said, we'll take some. Just bring it our way because we're ready. I mean, if we had more business and manufacturing, things like that, it would help us a lot. But we don't have it. We have that bedroom community that people all want, and they want it to remain that way. So if you want a bedroom community, you're probably going to have to pay more taxes. So I will be blunt.
Well, I'll kind of segue to the quarry. What's the status of the quarry? Personally, I strongly have always wanted revenue generating, I think it's zoned for visitor serving commercial. I'm sorry?
Biotech. He said biotech.
I've already, and I encourage you all to do the same, I've already instructed my husband, when I'm cremated, please help me reclaim the quarry. Just put my ashes in the quarry.
We didn't hear that. Oh man, you would start a whole big process. So the people brought forward to the quarry a plan that was not passed, and then they had a special study session, and in study sessions no results are given at the end of study sessions. So it's going to continue until there is a plan that's suitable for first the planning commissioners, because then it will get appealed and it'll come to the city council, and then it'll probably get appealed again to the coastal commission, because once people appeal to the coastal commission, it adds time and time and time. I did watch the last meeting on TV, and one of the things people complained about was development in the quarry. Because I'm termed out, I see the quarry as one of our last viable large development sites in Pacifica, which could help our tax base so much if we had development. I'm going to cry and go backwards to the People's Project, which would have been done. It would have been safer on our roads. We would have had a beautiful project there. We would have had income for the city, but it didn't happen. It was a small difference in vote. What has been presented to us later than that did not equal that project one bit. I mean, the last project presented, and I'm not commenting specifically, but it was all box. When the previous project was a fancy, nice, curving project that would go well with our city. But it didn't happen because a lot of people lied about it. We're on TV. Okay. So, sorry, before we answer another question, right now, we have people, people have their specific wants and needs. So we get a whole group of people who are concerned about our tree prices and our tree ordinance that we have. So we are getting many, many emails about the trees. That is coming forward. We're doing a session about the costs. Then we have people about the local coastal update plan. And then we have people telling us, and I don't know where this came from, City Council, vote no on ACA 1. ACA 1 makes it easier for people to vote on bond measures for the city. A lot of people don't want it because, again, it's a bond. But I'll give our library for an example. The library would pass at 55% or 50 plus one vote. 66%, we can come close, but it'll never pass, so we won't get the library. But I can see that putting bond measures against homeowners is what always happens. So there's two sides to that one. But when we get those calls, everybody gets to vote on ACA 1. Not just city council, it's going to be on the ballot in November. So I don't know why we got 15 or 20 emails about it for us to vote on it. But a lot of people in this city have their one item they're concerned about. You know, and then we get bombarded with each one of those items, which is what we do. I'm not saying that bombarded is a bad thing, but even the small thing, and I'll tell you, the removal of the statue. We got so many emails. There were 4,000 signatures on the petition. We got people saying, well, they're not all in Pacifica. Does that matter? It doesn't. It was owned by Caltrans on a site owned by Caltrans. It was donated from the people of Catalonia. And in Catalonia, we just met with two people from Catalonia. And we weren't going to bring up the statue, but they did. And the Portola statue in Catalonia was, lo and behold, removed from Catalonia because they all decided that Portola was a bad guy. And they didn't want to have his statue in their town. So, surprise, surprise. You know, we thought they were going to be upset that Caltrans gave us notice the day before that they were coming to remove the statue. They brought a big truck with a crane on the back. They brought all these people to remove the statue. You don't think they knew ahead that they were going to remove that statue? And they have yet to actually tell the city where the statue's located. So, I know the Historical Society has a plan, but that may not work either. So that's just beginning. Yeah, let's have music to go along. No. More questions?
Anyone have a question? VP privilege. How do we satisfy our RENA, our housing numbers, if we are an adamantly no-growth community?
The RENA numbers. We had 411 last year. I mean, in the last, RENA cycle. We built maybe 68 out of those 411. They were almost all accessory dwelling units. Now we have 1896. The original number for us was 1,980. And they say I never say anything at the City and County Association of Governments, but boy, I told them that was an impossible number. And my impression is that they took a drone and went over Pacifica and said, look at all this open space. We can build all over. We can do 1,800. Half Moon Bay got something like 400. And we got almost 1,900. We had to submit about 2,000 locations to build about 2,000 properties. So we took everything that we could. The shopping centers, every shopping center, the tops of the shopping centers, the parking lots in the shopping centers, certain land that's definitely not ours. We did not include the quarry, and we did not include the bowling alley, because those are, and I don't think we included the Cowson property, because those are extremely controversial in this town, and it just, we couldn't include those because it would never go through. So we have a lot of properties that we don't own. Each vacant parcel is included, and even sites at the schools. That the schools own them, the schools determine what's going to happen there. Maybe nothing. Maybe they build workforce housing there. But It was a really difficult task for our planning department to try to come up with 2,000 places to build. I know that at the bowling alley they are still going forward, and I think the number changes all the time. So I think the last time I read it, it was 168 total units, including multi-story fancy townhouses that would go up the hill at the bowling alley and out in the parking lot, and also quite a few ADUs there. So that was their plan. By the way, I did just hear that someone is taking over Pacifica Brewery, so it is going to open back up. So, see, good news. Susan?
Oh, just one follow-up. So if the opposing factions in this city don't work collaboratively to meet our numbers and to increase revenue, is the builder's remedy going to bite us in the ass?
We have a few builder's remedy proposals at this time. And at the City and County Association of Governments, someone is trying to pass a bill in California that if you don't meet your RENA numbers, you'll be severely penalized. They did say there was going to be a penalty, but I came in late, but they were talking about, due to no fault of my own, they were talking about possibly putting in a bill that said if you don't meet the specific number in 2 years, you're not going to get money. I mean, okay, because I'm termed out, my opinion, we can't do that. We can't. We don't build. Cities don't build. And I say that all the time. You have to have people to come in and build. So how can you penalize a city for not building? I mean, I can see if you don't approve your projects as the city. I mean, if the people don't approve the projects, is that the city's fault? Not really. So it's going to be a very difficult thing for us.
Regarding the arena numbers again, now Half Moon Bay, the footprint, I think the population there is about 10 or 11,000 total, and their footprint, so I can understand why for the city of Half Moon Bay proper, they probably don't have anywhere near what we have. But I'm kind of curious if the county, because so much of our coastal property is county, okay, do they have RENA numbers?
They do.
Okay.
I don't know what their RENA number is. Sue, do you know? No. I don't know their RENA number. They have a lot of land in the county.
Okay.
But the other thing that we have to deal with, but Half Moon Bay more, is we have Coastal Commission that has to approve anything on the west side of the highway.
Right.
That's a lot for us.
Yeah.
Half Moon Bay, I feel bad for them. Their whole city is in the Coastal Commission.
Yeah.
So everything has to be approved by Coastal Commission.
Right.
That's a difficult proposition.
It just, over and over, it just seems that so much of our issues are regional. You know, the demands that are put on the coast and the limitations that we have. There's regionally, we are the place to go. So we're recreation for the San Mateo County for recreation, and yet we're the ones that support this recreation.
And you're right. Highway 1 is definitely a regional thing, but we get the responsibility for it. So.
And hey, our environment is not our economy. My personal opinion. Or it could be. It could be. Carl?
Sue did. I don't know if I want to take a question from her. I'm kidding.
This is your Mayor Pro Tem speaking. I would never put you on the spot. I just wanted to share the information that under the current RENA cycle, San Mateo County and the cities within will need to build a total of 47,687 units. More than double the number of something. I'm not going to go to that whole link because I don't want to lose what I'm about to say, which is the county's RENA is 2,833 housing units in total, with 811 for very low income households, 468 for low income, 433 for moderate, and it goes on. So if you Google it, it'll give more details.
So when
So
the
the
county,
entire unincorporated county is 2833.
and the county just approved a fairly large $42 million farm worker housing project, which will probably count towards the arena numbers. We had a project on Gateway, existing apartments. It was purchased by a nonprofit. It will be it's 160 units of all affordable housing. I know I've said this before, but I actually went to the state housing board, the caucus, to present that we lose by doing that. So we have now this 160 unit affordable housing, but we don't get taxes on it because it's all affordable. And yet, because it was already existing, we can't count it towards our RENA numbers. So I went and Josh Becker wrote a bill that included us in there for that, which their whole housing congressional, I should know the name of it, but they all passed it 100% because they believed in it, but it didn't go anywhere. It became a 2-year bill, and so it died. But we will try to get that back, because why shouldn't we? We allowed that project. We wanted the affordable housing because we do want affordable housing, but we should get some credit. I mean, if we don't get taxes, then we're penalized on all sides. Then we shouldn't even approve projects like that. But that's one of the things that we wanted. So, yeah, Judy.
Yeah, this is more a comment than a question. I've been a co-state since 1974, and I grew up in Livermore, and I did not want Half Moon Bay to turn into Livermore. So initially I supported a lot of the growth things and believed in the Coastal Commission when it came into being, believing that they were going to be a regional planning source and not a regional no source. And what we're dealing with now with the RENA numbers and with the stuff you're struggling with is that people move to a place and they recognize that it's really something special, and they don't want to see it change because change is perceived as negative. You're going to take something away from it. You're not going to add, you're going to take it away. And we have an extraordinary amount of intellectual wealth and financial wealth and activist energy in this state. And my perception is that it has just been hyper-focused, your comment on having a single issue. And we have had all of these people look at their community and say, we're special. We can't take on all of this new housing. We're special. Marin County has a height limit, county-wide, I believe. Or is it just one of the cities? Is it just San Rafael? Anyways, a 4 or 5 story height limit. We had Woodside try to proclaim itself, the entire city, a habitat, so that they wouldn't have to take on any of this new housing. And I mean, there is no answer here except maybe awareness. I appreciate the fact that Sacramento has had it with all of us spoiled little, who are saying, we're special, you need to take care of it. You can't expect us to contribute to the solution. And that's what we've got here, is a whole lot of, yeah, it's a problem, but somebody else needs to fix it. And I appreciate people like you who are trying to, thread this needle between the public does not want this. I had Harvey Rarbach tell me, at ADUs in Half Moon Bay, the public voted for it. And it's like the public was wrong. And now we are dealing with the fact that we do not have housing for 80% of our workforce. And, it's growing pains, but I, for one, am happy to see Sacramento putting its thumb on the scale and saying, y'all aren't as special as you think you are.
We are. very special here, and we're different from everybody else. And the other line that I hear, which is one of my other favorites, being facetious, is build housing, please, build all this housing. Oh, but not where I live. So that's another, we hear that all the time. So it's very common. I'm sure that's across the United States. And one of the things about our RHNA numbers is they weren't going to be that high because there were issues like jobs, transportation corridor, and they changed the rules. And the rules say now, because we don't really have a transportation corridor, we have Highway 1, but they changed the rules to say that if you're within 20 minutes of a job center, we have many job centers near us. Do we benefit from those job centers? No. Are those people paying to build housing here, to add transportation here? No. Our highway, I mean, that's all we have. That's it. And we have, I think they just are changing the bus lines, so pay attention to that. If you ride the bus, one of the bus lines that used to go down Oceana is going to go down the highway and pick up people off the highway. So I believe now we have 2 bus lines here. I've never ridden the bus here because if I tried to go anywhere, my kids, where I live in the north, I wanted them to take the bus to Terra Nova. Yeah, it would have taken them an hour and 20 minutes each way to take the bus to school. So I drove them along with everybody else who drove their kids to school, and that's why we have traffic, because we don't have transportation. So,
You know, we should have billed this, our PR is lacking as an intimate conversation with our mayor.
wait till I get in trouble later.
Well, I'll thank, it's Jason, correct, at PCTV. Thank you. Please destroy this.
Like I said, I'm turned out. Go ahead, recall me. It takes 6 months.
Susan.
Thank you.
If I could go back to a previous topic, I happened to meet with the folks from Catalonia when they were here, and besides talking about the statue, they mentioned that Pacifica and Balaguer were at one time sister cities, and they want to reestablish that. Also, California and Catalonia were sister states. They want to reestablish that as well. When talking with them, they said that in Catalonia, it's a custom that every year they celebrate one of the cities. And they are planning to celebrate Pacifica in November of 2025. So if you don't already have plans for 18 months out, think about going to Balaguer in 2025.
I want to go. I have nothing to do. Just my other 2 jobs that I do. And all of our council does, by the way, have regular jobs. We've been accused of not being able to, you couldn't pave the street in front of my house because your salary prevented us from paving the street. And we get about $600 a month. So maybe 10 cents an hour for the work we do. But each of us does have other jobs. And the thing about, we always called it Balaguer. And he corrected us, and there's no R on the end, Balaga. And they are going to do something with our little plaza that says Plaza de Catalonia. So they are working on plans to try to do something. And it was so nice that they're honoring us next year. They have a big, huge festival. Deborah.
Sue, let's room together in Spain.
Fine.
My comment is sort of rebuttal to what Judy said, that we are not special. I think we're very special. How many places are 20 minutes from San Francisco? We're along the coast. Our host city has how many accesses to the beach? We have a free pier for fishing. We have multiple trails through GGNRA. We're very special. So I refute that comment.
I agree. I already did, but I'll say it again. We're special.
we're very special, but we also need money to pay for our city services to maintain our quality of life.
That was another funny one. A person got up at council and she goes, you need to do this, and you need to do this, and you need to pave my street, and you need to pick up this garbage, but I'm not going to pay another cent in taxes. You get what you pay for.
Suzanne.
You mentioned the LCLUP next meeting is the 26th.
Yes.
This would be meeting 5.
More than that, I think. I think we're on 7.
7. How many more meetings do you perceive on this?
In my thinking, this is it. This is it. We've gone over it. We have 2 sides like we do on everything. I will say that I have not made up my mind. I won't make up my mind till I'm there. But we've just gone over it endlessly. So we have people who want to be in the special resiliency area that aren't in it. Then we have people who are in the special resiliency area who don't want to be there. So, and to be specific on that, there's a project on Pedro Point where the alpacas used to be. And those guys went to the public, had multiple public meetings about the building. It's a commercial building. It could be 0 lot line. They don't need any side setbacks at all because it's commercial. But they went along with what the public said they wanted, and they put setbacks all around that building. They made it much smaller. They stepped it back to do what the public wanted. And everybody agreed. And lo and behold, one person said, nope, I'm going to appeal it to Coastal Commission. So they did. And they have a deed restriction on their property. So if we don't do anything, Coastal Commission can put the deed restrictions on by themselves. So they would be the next, we at least would have some say in what happens. Whereas if we don't do anything, Coastal Commission gets to say what happens. So it's a long involved subject. And I'm not sure what we're going to do, but I am hoping that this is the last meeting.
It always seems when, and I'm going back to Peebles and other projects, when there are really good faith efforts at collaboration, Lucy takes away that football.
That's exactly what happened in that one I just told you about. Lucy came in and snatched it right up. So,
all right.
Okay.
Thank you. This has been wonderful to have.
And stand up.
Yeah, thank you, Sue and Yulia. We really appreciate you, spending your Saturday morning with us.
It's not often that I get to be this blunt.
And
everyone thinks I'm really serious, and I'm not. I am. I am, but I have another side that you don't know about. You'll hear it later. And please make sure that you tip floor. I know we had a small group today because this wasn't the most interesting topic that we've had here.
It was for us, Sue.
Thanks. So I thank you all for being here and coming today because you all came on Saturday morning too.